All right. Hi, Danielle. Hello, Danielle. Daniel, can you hear me? Okay. All right. So I think we're having a bit of a network issue here. So yeah, I mean, a bit of a glitch. So I think Daniel is currently sharing a screen, but we cannot see a screen. Yeah, Daniel, just to be sure, can you hear me? All right. So while we're waiting for Daniel, I can see we have two people watching on YouTube. We also have some people on Twitch. Welcome to this evening session. Daniel will be our instructor. Yeah. So just give us a few minutes while Daniel tries to sort out the connection from his hand. Okay. All right, guys. So go ahead and drop a message in the community. Drop a message for the others to join us. Okay. Yeah. Hello, Sunday. Hello, Omaumi and Lola. Good evening. Go ahead and drop a message in your rooms. Drop a message in the general channel so we can have the others join as soon as possible. All right. All right. So Daniel, can you hear me now? All right. So hi, Daniel. Okay. All right, guys. So go ahead and drop a message for the others. Let's give Daniel a few minutes to resolve this, okay? All right. All right. Welcome back, Daniel. Um, yeah, I can see you're. Are you trying to speak? Because I can't hear you. Okay, okay, so Daniel, I can see you're speaking, but I can't hear you. But your camera is turned on, but I can't hear any voice at all. Yeah. Okay. Um, All right. Yeah. So while Daniel is trying to resolve that, guys, go ahead and invite the others. Drop a reminder in the Discord server so we can have others join. Right. You can join us from. You can join us on YouTube. You can also join on Twitch. Okay. All right. So welcome, guys. I can see we have Rufieto, we have others on the call. Yeah, just give us a minute. We'll be kicking off very soon. All right. Yeah, sorry about that. Grace, good evening and welcome to the stream. Okay, so we also have Katora. Sorry if I don't pronounce your name very well. I was trying to look at the pronunciation before I called the names. Okay, Grace, thank you. Yeah, Uchenna, good evening. Kato, okay, all right, nice. Daniel, K Fox, welcome. All right. So Daniel, maybe you could just like leave the stage, right, and join again. All right. All right. Good evening, Christophobe. Welcome, Tino Tona. So I'm assuming most of us are probably joining from Kenya, right? Looking at the names. Yeah. So if you're joining us from Kenya, welcome. I think it's probably 10 past 10 your time. Hi, Daniel. Yeah, hello, Daniel. Okay, so I'm a bit confused why Daniel is unable um, to speak here. Because all right, guys, please be patient with us. We're trying to resolve this. Okay, so guys, I want to know if anybody can hear Daniel because he's speaking, right? So if you can hear Daniel, drop a message in the chat. Let's verify. Um, yeah, because I cannot hear Daniel. Can you guys hear Daniel speak? Uchenna. Okay. So this is it's I don't think it's from our end here. Okay, so I had to, so Daniel, I had to leave the stage to see if maybe if maybe me being on the stage was like the problem, but I don't think so. Um, and I heard you speak when I joined, so I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised. So we've actually experienced similar issue before, and I think it was a permission thing from the browser. So I remember back then the instructor had to I think I think he tried a different browser. It was a permission, like a mic permission thing on the on the StreamYard, which is weird, but maybe we could try that. Okay, all right. All right, guys. Yeah. So, guys, sorry for the delay. While we're waiting for Daniel to try it one more time, sometimes these devices can actually behave like this. I actually joined the stream and I could hear him speak. And when we started broadcasting, I think the voice went away. So, yeah. Welcome, Farouk, Shuang. Are you based in China or something? Chuang. Okay. All right. So we're waiting for our instructor. All right. Let's know. Let me know where you're joining from. Right. Let's just spend some time doing that. So tell us where you're joining from. You can drop a location in the chat. Nigeria. Kenya. Okay. Let's try this again. Hi, Daniel. Hello, Daniel. Oh boy. Hello, Daniel. I think. Wow. I mean, I can't hear you. Okay, so it's already 17 minutes past 8 West African time. So Daniel, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. Okay, so yeah, Daniel, I okay, so I think you're trying to, are you trying to use a different device? Let's see if that works. Hello, Daniel.
Hello, hello, Mark.
Yeah. Okay. So so sorry about that. So yeah, Daniel, I heard you from the second device, but there was an echo. So I'm going to bring the second device to the stage again. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. I can hear you. I can hear you clearly.
Yeah, finally connected with my phone. Machine have refused to connect.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, so I can hear you clearly here. So what do we do now that your machine is not bringing out the sound? Um, yeah.
maybe you are in a good position to advise me. I have seen you. You have written here. You have 20 minutes now.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, and maybe we can schedule it for another date so that we'll start the training at the exact time.
Okay, okay. So what I'll do is I'll discuss with Emanuela, right? Then we would have you, in a different session.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I'll just go ahead and, take it up from here, more like a revision from the previous class, and you will have a different session with us. How about that?
That is okay. That will be okay.
All right, all right. Thank you very much, and we do appreciate your time. Thanks for showing up.
Thank you very much. Your name is Mark.
Marvelous, marvelous. That's Marv
Oh,
for
oh,
short.
marvelous. Ah, okay. There's a
Yeah.
very good name, marvelous. Okay. It's
All
so
right.
nice
Thank
to
you.
meet with you.
Yeah, same here. Same here. Thank you very much. I would connect with you on LinkedIn after the class.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.
Eh, All right. You too. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So, guys, we're going to continue from where we left off, in the afternoon. I'll just, pick it up from there. We would, cover some basic, areas like the data structures. We'll talk about functions, right? Yeah. So, let's jump into that already. All right. Okay, so I'm going to be presenting. Just give me a minute to quickly pull up and declutter my screen. I have a bunch of things opened up here. Yeah, so let's do that. All right. So remember, I shared a material with you. Um, I shared a material with you earlier this afternoon. The Python book, the Python for Starters. So I'm going to quickly. Apologies for the delay. I have to connect my second screen so that I can see your questions as they come in. All right, so Python for starters. Let's go ahead and share the screen. All right. Okay, okay. I think I shared the wrong screen there. Share my screen right here. All right. Oh, not that. 1 minute. Oh boy. Okay. All right, yeah, sorry about that. And right here, I have the Python book. Okay, so this is yeah, data structures. Okay, so I hope you guys have Python installed already at this point, and I hope you have also gone through some basic items here, right? At the end of the session, I would also share extra materials with you, including the link to this video. Um, Remember, when you're about to take this video, you would have to skip the first 20 minutes. By the way, I can see the messages, from Chuang from Plateau, Farouk from Abia State, Lola from Abuja. Welcome, guys. Welcome. All right, so let's continue from here. We're going to talk about the Python list, right? If you remember, I gave an example. So let me go ahead and pull up Excalibur. Okay. Let's see if I have any saved drawing here. Do I? Okay, yeah. So this is our saved session. So let's take it up from here. Okay, so we're going to talk about the Python list. And by the way, if at any point in time you're confused or you're lost, please call my attention so we can I can answer your questions immediately. I'm going to give you first a description. Right, I described a list during the day. Right here we have an example of what a list would look like. We said a list is a data structure in Python that basically holds different type of objects. Right, so it can be a combination of numbers, whether it's an integer or a floating point number. It can also hold a string. It can even hold other types, right? So you can basically have a list that looks like this. Let me quickly pull this up. So I'm going to create a Python file. Remember how I did it the other time. And the reason why I'm showing you how to, do this as well from the terminal is so you can learn, right? So I basically move to my desktop. I navigate to my desktop, and I want to make a new directory. Let's call this Python. So a directory meaning a folder, all right? And I'm going to move into the Python folder. I just did that. And next, I am going to simply create a file, which is called app.py. Now, the .py here symbolizes the extension, right? So the .py extension, tells, it's going to tell our text editor that, okay, we are currently writing a Python code. And when we try to execute this with Python, Python can recognize this as a Python code, all right? So let's go ahead and create that file inside the Python directory. And next, I'm going to open this time around, not with VS Code. I'm going to use a code editor that is actually very lightweight and simple. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. You can use VS Code for this, all right? So let's zoom in so that this will be very clear. Our previous class, we said, x equals 50, print x. I'm sure you remember this x right here is a variable. This is a value. And when we print x, we're basically printing, the value, right? Because x is simply a reference to this, okay? So if we go ahead and execute this by simply calling Python app.py, we are definitely going to get the results. First of all, I have to save this file. I did not save the file earlier. So I have to save this file and run this again. And now you see we have 50. Sorry, that was too fast. Let's take it down a bit. Good. So that was 50 as our result. Now, speaking of a list, let's assume you have a list of items, okay? So I'm going to say we have like, let's say a list of subjects, right? So I'm going to say list of subjects, right? So this is how you basically create a list, okay? So you have the open and close square brackets. And I'm going to put like, we have maths, we have maybe English, right? English, and then we have probably physics, okay? So physics. All right, so these are some subjects we have in a list, right? So this is a list of subjects. You can have as many items, as you want. What's the purpose of organizing these items in a list? What is the purpose of using a list in the first place? So it's a data structure that you can use to, organize things, together, basically hold things together, right? More like saying this set of items are basically, they have some similarities, kind of, all right? And yeah, so I mean, logically speaking, that is what we're trying to do, right? So basically, math, English, physics, they are all under a list of subjects. So what exactly would you be, working on? And you might tell yourself, okay, when do I really need a list, right? So let's look at a very simple scenario, right? You're trying to build an application where you need to present the subjects in a school on a front end UI, like on a website. You can basically organize this into a list on the back end, and then send that to the front end. So when we say front end, we're referring to what you see on your browser. Back end is what happens on the server. Okay, so that is just a very simple example. Or probably you have a list of like names of the admin users, right? Or a list containing the names of a specific kind of data. It can be the users. It can be probably the admin list. It can actually be anything, right, that is meant to be organized and meant to stay together just like this. All right. And of course, you can go ahead and print this entire list, right? You can perform different operations. We can remove an item from the list. We can add new items to the list. So if you have this page opened up on your laptop, just go ahead and follow me. We're going to be trying out some of the examples to see, in that material. So the first example we have in there, by the way, if I print this, you're simply going to get, the outputs, just exactly what you have added already, okay? Let's go ahead and follow the examples we have in the material. So in this first example, we have a list of fruits, right? And the first thing we can do, of course, we can print the fruits, very basic stuff, okay? And we can also choose to assess, specific fruits. And one thing you should know is that a list, when you are looking at the items in the list, if you want to assess the items, you basically start counting from position 0. So a list basically works with, you count from the position, the index of 0, right? So this is at 0, this is at 1, this is at 2, and 3. All right. So just to make that clear, when I say give us fruits at position 0, our expectation is to get apple, okay, which is what you see right here, apple. When I say give us the item at position 1, by the way, this is referred to as the index. All right, the index, the location. Okay, so give us the fruits at location 1. If this is 0, then this is 1, which means we expect to see banana right here as the output. Okay, if we get the item at position 2, of course, we expect to see orange, and the item at position 3, we expect to see mango. Okay, so that is a very simple example, and of course, you can also append the specific item you want to grab into a variable, right? So how will we do that? How can you do that? You can say second fruit equals this, and that should be position 1, because position 0 is the first item. Position 1 would be the second item. All right, so that's how you basically work with indexing. Okay, so if I go ahead and print second fruit, you're going to get banana. Okay, so we basically pass the item into a variable called second fruit, and then we can print second fruit. I hope that is clear. All right, so we can also use the negative indexing. What we have done right now is we use the positive indexing, which is to say we have an item at position 0, position 1, 2, and 3, right? Now we can use negative indexing, which is a way to say we are basically, trying to index this from behind the list, okay? So from the tail of the list, okay? So this is at -1, this is at basically -2, right? -3. Okay, so at this point, it doesn't start with -0, so don't make that mistake, okay? So we have -4. Now let's go ahead and try this. Let's basically try to get the item at -4, right? So let's see what we get when we print this item. I'm simply going to pass this in here, right, to keep it simple. And now you're going to get apple, right? Because this is -1, -2, -3, -4. This is known as negative indexing, okay? All right, so next I'm going to show you how to append an item to a list. All right, we have these examples in the material, so please do well to look into that material. Now, when you want to append an item to a list, what we are saying is we simply want to add an item. All right, we want to add an item. So now we have apple and orange. Let's go ahead, take off these guys here, and we're going to add let's say, yeah, let's go ahead and add mango, right? So what we're going to do right now is to simply say fruits dot append, right? That is the method we use in passing the new value. So fruits dot append, and then we append the new value, which is mango. All right. So if we go ahead and print this first, just to see the value, right? Initially, you're going to first see that, okay, we only have apple and orange in here because we printed at this line. Python is interpreted. Python is an interpreted language, which means it's basically running line by line. So when it gets to this line, it prints the value. When it gets to this line, the operation was performed, but we don't get any output because we did not print again. Okay, so if we print again, right? If we print again, so this is fruits. If you print this again, so you see when it got to this line, it printed this item, right? When it got to this line, it just appended this item in here. So now we have 3 items, even though you can't see it, right? That's the idea. And now when you print, it's going to give you everything in here plus the new item you have included, right? So which is why we see this, okay? So we can simply say, yeah, in order to be very sure, right? So, and I'll get to explaining, what I just did here. We'll talk about that very soon. So I'll just say new list or new list items. Okay, and right here I would simply. So I'm just trying to explain this better. All right. Okay. So this will be old items. So this is the old items, right? Which means it's going to basically show us the items before we added, this new value. All right. So let's go ahead and print this again, to see what we have. So now you see the old items, it gives us the previous items. The new list items, it gives us the new items. All right. So that is basically how you append to a list. Now, the next thing would be, how you insert into a list. One thing you should know is that when you append, it is always going to, come down to the tail, right? The tail of the list, as you can see, right? But when you insert an item, you can basically choose to set a specific position, all right? So let's go ahead and, copy this. I'm going to simply, let's do this. So this is the operation here. Next one would be to insert. Okay. And when we are inserting to a list, we're going to use fruits.insert. So this time around, we're going to first set a position. Remember our index. We're going to set a position. So where do we want to have this item? Is it at position 0 or position 1, right? Or position 2? Because by the time we add a new item, we're going to have apple, orange, and mango, all right? So let us add our new item at position 1, which is going to be in between apple and orange. All right, so we're simply going to first pass in the value of 1, which is going to mark our index, and we can put the new value in here. All right, so we can put the new value in here. We can basically, call this, let's say, banana. Okay, banana. All right, and if we go ahead and run this, by the way, remember we're not printing yet, so we have to go ahead and print again. Let's just copy this entire line here, and we're going to say new list after insert. Okay, right? So at least that would give us a better way to visualize this. So let's go ahead and run this again, and let's see our results. So first off, we have the old items. Next, we have the new list items after we added the mango, and then the third operation there we have banana sitting in position 1, right? Based on our code here, we said insert this at position 1. All right, and then we also have orange and mango. So because we inserted this, the orange moved, right? The position of orange moved, and the mango still remains the last item because we use the append operation, right? So that is exactly what we expect to have. And I hope you understand me. Let me check the chat. So you said, what does F stand for? Yes. So we are going to talk about what you're seeing here, F, when we get to talk about string. All right. So focus on the major thing we're looking at here, which is the operation insert, append. All right. So we'll get to talk about this. This is basically what we use for formatting, but we'll get to talk about it and I will explain in detail. All right. So Omaomi and Rufioto will definitely explain that in detail when we get to talk about strings. All right. So I'm just using it to present it better to you, but trust me, you would understand everything here. Remember, we have the material and we're following the material. All right. So let's proceed. What we have done so far is this. These are the important things, right? Don't be confused. I can take off this whole thing you're seeing here. Those are not important. The major thing we've done here is append. which is to add an item, right? And we also did insert, which is to add an item in a specific position. All right. So this is to add an item, right? It's going to add the item at the last index right here. Okay. And this is to add an item in a specific position, which means we can choose, where to put that specific, item, right? And the F that you are asking about is simply, used to format our string. This is a string. We're trying to print this out. So the purpose of putting the F here is because we want to simply, add a regular text plus a variable. But don't worry about it. We'll get there and I would explain, in great details. Okay. All right. So let's move on to the next. So focus on the operations. The next operation we have now is how do we remove an item from a list? All right. How do we remove an item from a list? There are so many ways we can also remove an item. Let's start from the very first one, which is .pop. That is the method. So when we say fruits .pop. Now remember that this is the result at this point, right? After running all these operations, we're eventually going to have this result. I hope you understand that because at this point, we first added, mango, which is this. At this point, we inserted banana at position 1, which is this, right? So what you're seeing here, all these items you're seeing here, these are called comments, all right? These are called comments. And one thing you should know is that comments are not executed by Python, right? Because I'm putting these comments for you to understand what I'm trying to do, all right? So I can take them off and it doesn't matter, all right? These are just comments. And what makes them comments? All right, so they are comments because I simply added this sign here, which, basically some of you would call the hash sign, right? Yeah, so I basically added this sign here. And if I take that off, you see it's no longer looking like a comment, which means if I run this, we will have an error, right? We have an error because, as you can see, it says indentation unexpected, right? It does not understand what we're even trying to do with this. This is not something Python would understand out of the ordinary. So it's a comment, and we just want to put that in there to explain. The moment you add a comment, that line is no longer going to be effective. All right. The moment you add that, that line is no longer going to be effective. All right. So as we proceed, we'll get to learn some of the ways to or some of the best practices on how to comment your code properly. You add comments basically because you want people to understand what you're doing. That is the purpose, right? It's a way to basically add some description to the code so that someone else can come look at your code and they understand that, okay, this guy did this or that because of this. Okay, so that is just a way to explain. And yeah, so I added the comments to this as well because I was just trying to show you that this is the current output. We don't want Python to understand that, right? What I'm just trying to use this to show you that at this point, I would simply say at this point, this is the current output. All right. So just to tell you, come on, output. Just to tell you what we have, yeah. Just to tell you what, just to tell you what we have done so far, right? The output of what we have done so far, and this is the output. Okay. So Python is going to continue executing from here, which now we are saying .pop. And I said .pop is going to take off the last item, right? Which means if I run the .pop operation right now, let us add a comment to this here. So I'm going to say this would take off the last item on the list. Okay. So if I run this, what would be the results? I mean, if you guess properly, it means that mango is going off, right? And we're going to be left with apple, banana, and orange. All right. So if I go ahead and print fruits again, let's save this. Remember to save. I use the shortcut Control S or Command S. All right. Control S on a Windows machine, Command S on a Mac, or you can simply click on File and then click on Save. All right. So you see we have the shortcut right here. Learn to use the shortcuts because it makes you faster. Okay. All right. So that's a quick tip. Okay. So let's save our file. Let's go ahead and run this again. So if I run this now, you see our new output, right? Now, this is the reason why you notice I was adding all this, F and strings, right? So that I can explain better to you in the output. Do you understand? because now we just have this list. We understand what we're trying to do, but it's better to add some explanations. So if I copy this, for example, and I just paste that in here, just to explain, right? To explain this better. Okay, so I'm going to simply say new list after uh, using .pop method. All right, so I think that makes sense. So if I run this again, see we have a better explanation. New list after using .pop method, and we have the list. All right, does that make sense? Let's look at the chat. All right, so does that make sense? Rocky Bello, oh, you just joined the class. K Fox, Rufiato, who else? Maomi, Grace, and the others, Lola, Ferdinand. Does this make sense so far? Let me know in the chat, right? Drop a message in the chat and let me know if this makes sense so far to you. If you're following me, please let me know in the chat. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop your questions in the chat. All right, so while you're doing that, I would simply proceed, right? But if you have questions, please go ahead and drop your questions so we can take them already. All right. The next thing I have here is, you can also delete an item using the delete keyword, okay? The DEL keyword, all right? So I'm simply going to use the DEL keyword here. So this is one way to delete an item, but this will delete the item at the extreme tail, all right? So if you want to delete an item in a specific index, right, in a specific position, let's say you want to delete the item apple, which is at position 0, right, index 0. You simply have to use DEL fruits. We have to reference the list, all right, and we have to then put the position, right? Position 0. This is going to take off apple, all right. So let's put a comment here to say DEL. I'll say this keyword remove will remove item from the list in a given position or index, e.g. DEL as a list and 0, right? So we are simply using this as an example. We are removing the first fruit right here, which is apple, all right? And if we go ahead and print the new value of apple, so I'm going to the new value of the fruit list, sorry. So I'm going to simply print fruit again. We're going to see that the first item was removed because we removed that using this specific operation, right? Using the delete keyword, okay? And of course, we can always, just like before, we can simply go ahead and add some explanation here, and we'll say new lists after using the .del. I would say after using this, after using the del, okay, after using the del method. All right, so that makes sense. Let's go ahead and wrap this here. So if I run this again, now we can get a better explanation. So this is the new list after using the .del method. So this is our new list. We use .del at position 0. So it took off apple, and then we're left with what? Banana and orange. All right, so that is basically how you delete using the delete keyword. We also have another value, another option called the .remove method, right? Well, let me look at the chart and see, the feedback. So, all right, so it does. Okay, I think I'll need to rewatch the video on YouTube. Okay, that's amazing. Makes sense. Following. So, all right, nice, nice, nice. Okay, so if you are confused at any point, ask your questions, or you can also go back to the videos later. By the way, let me take off this banner right here and let me expand on this. Let's expand this. Okay. All right, much better. Okay, great. So let's continue. A bit fast, but still with you. Okay, so I'm going to slow down a bit. All right, sorry about that. Let me slow down a bit. Okay, I was only trying to see that we'll cover this because we already spent 20 minutes, but that's fine. So now we're going to remove an item. We're going to be removing an item using the .remove method, okay? So we're going to still use our list. Now we have 2 items left in the list. We're going to use the .remove method to remove orange. So we'll be left with this, banana fruit. All right. So let's go ahead and add a comment just to describe we're using the dot remove method. All right. So I'll just say dot remove will remove an item from the list given the value of the item. All right. So how does this work? So here's an example. If we say fruits dot remove, and we then pass in the value, right? So for example, orange. Okay, so we'll pass in orange. All right. So now that we've passed in orange, it's going to check and remove orange. All right, which means we'll be left with the banana fruit. Okay, so I can go ahead and print, right? Let's just copy and paste this because we need to edit this. So I'll say this is the new list after removing item or an item using dot remove. Okay, so let's just go ahead and grab this now. So let's call this. So if I run this now, it says this is the new list after removing an item using dot remove. So we're left with banana because we took off orange. Now let's trace this back from the beginning. So first of all, we have the original items. Then we added an item, right? So these are we added the item. We basically added that item right here using the dot append. All right, so we added mango. Next, we added another item, banana, but now we used an index, which means we put it in a specific position that we want to see. All right, so we added it to index 1. And because this is index 0, it means it's going to create space right here for index 1. And the item that was in index 1 would then move to index 2. Okay, so because index 1 have been replaced, the position, right, that has been taken over by the value that we added here, which is banana. All right, good. So next, we use the dot pop method to remove an item, and the dot pop method removes the last item. All right. So if you look at this, you see the last item was removed, which is the mango item that was removed. Okay. And now you're left with apple, banana, and orange without mango. All right. And next, we use the dot delete with an index of 0. So which means we plan to remove the first item, right? That is index 0. So we're able to remove that first item, right, by simply deleting the item at position 0. So that item is gone, and we're left with banana and orange, which is this and this, okay? And next, we're able to remove another item using the dot remove method, right? And using the dot remove method, which is exactly at this point, you have to remove an item using the value. So we removed orange, right? And now we are left with banana only in our list. All right, so I hope you understood that explanation. We are then going to use the dot find, right? Well, we're going to use the dot index, sorry. So we're going to use the dot index method to simply look for an item in the list, right? So I'm going to show you how to do that next. But what we are going to do first is to add more items, right? So at this point, this is what we have. Let's just go ahead and add maybe a new item, right? Or we can simply create a new, let's just create a new list. This time around, I'll copy an example from the Python book. I'm going to paste it here. So we have a new item here, a new list. We have names, and here we have John, Mark, and Marriott. All right. So I can also include, let's include Mark. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to search for an item, right? And we're simply using names, which is the list dot index. So when you say dot index and you put in name, right, just like this, Mark, what Python is going to do is it's going to locate that specific item if it exists. All right. If I run this, you see that we get the result 1, right? It shows that Mark exists at index 1. This is index 0. This is 1. If we want to search for the index or the position of Marv, we can simply go ahead and put in Marv right here. And when we search, you see that Marv exists at index 3, because you have 0, 1, 2, and 3. All right? I hope that makes sense. Okay. So moving on, we have sorting in Python, right? So you can basically sort, and I'm sure you understand what we mean by sort, okay? So let's say you have a list of items, for example. So you have like, a list of numbers. You have 1, you have, let's zoom in, you have 1, you have 2, you have 3, you have 4. Now someone is telling you, okay, I want you to basically sort this. Of course, you understand that we're referring to sorting, and the question you might ask is, are we sorting in ascending order, right? Or are we trying to sort this in, descending order? Like, what exactly are we trying to do? Is it from, top to bottom or the bottom to top, right? What approach are we trying to, follow here? All right. So that is basically what we're going to use. We're going to learn how to do that using a dot sort in a list. So let's say you have a list item, you can use the dot sort method to sort all the items you have in there. So this is what we're going to do. We have a list of names already. We can simply go ahead and say sorted list, which is a new variable, equals names dot sort. All right. Let's go ahead and print our sorted list. So when we try to bring out the sorted list, so the first thing we get to see here is, okay, so now it says none. Let's see, just to make sure everything is right. Let's see. All right, so we said sorted lists. Okay, that's quite weird. Okay, so I'm going to try something here. Let's try some numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did I use names already? No, I did not. Okay, let's try this. So I'm going to simply swap this here and I'm going to put 3. Just an example. So please give me a minute. And we have this in here, the sorts. Oh, okay. Okay, let's see. Give me a minute. Try with this example I have here. Okay, so I think I get it. I think the problem is the names I'm using, like names, right? I think that is um, a default params, right? The default parameter that we should not use. So I'm going to go back to that example and I'll say sample numbers, just to try to figure out what was the problem. Okay, when you try something and it doesn't work, the best thing you can do is try to figure out what exactly went wrong. All right, so let's go ahead and sort this time around. And okay, well, I think I get it. I'm making a mistake trying to sort this. I should sort this outside, then print the number itself again. Uh-huh. All right, that makes sense. Okay, so let's go back to our previous example. So we had the item here, which is the list, right? The list of names. And what you can do is sort first. You don't append the sort result into a variable. That was wrong. So this is what we call a bug, right? This is a bug. I actually made a mistake here. So let's fix that. So when you're sorting, you don't necessarily need to sort into a new list. That's not how it works. You basically sort, directly, and you can choose to sort by default. It's going to sort this in ascending order, right? And if you add the value of reverse equals true, it's basically going to sort it the other way around, which is of course in descending order. But let's go ahead and try the first option first, okay? So let's go ahead and print names right here. So now you see we have John, Mark, Margaret, and Mark. Okay, so if we have like a different name, like maybe I'm just going to put Zod. Probably I should put that somewhere here. Yeah, let's put that somewhere here. So Zod. Right. So if I do that, you see that Zod was moved to the last, index, right? Because it starts with a Z. Okay. So and if we say this is basically ascending, all right? So you're sorting in ascending order right here, and in order to sort in descending order, so this is going to give us descending order. We first have to use reverse equals true, right? And I'm going to move that to the bottom here so we can see the value of the ascending order first before the descending order, right? So if you understand what I'm trying to say, we are first going to sort in ascending order, and then we sort in descending order, and then we see both results. So let's go ahead and add some text here to basically showcase that this is exactly the result. So this is ascending order, right? And this will be descending order. All right, okay, that makes sense. So this is descending, correct that? Descending. All right, so if I go ahead and run this now, you see ascending order. This was the original list, remember? Okay, and when sorted in ascending order, we have this. When sorted in descending order, we have this. So it starts from ZOD. All right, so I hope that makes sense, guys. Let me check the chat. So someone said, please explain the brackets. Okay, so when you say explain the brackets, are you referring to this brackets, or this bracket? Chukudi, which bracket are you referring to? Then Omomi is saying, is there a reason why we have two different hyphen? Oh, okay, no, there is no reason at all. You can actually use either of them. So you can use single, you mean the quote, right? So you can use the single quotes, or you can use the double quotes. I believe you mean the quotes, correct, Omaomi? You mean the quotes, right? And Collins is asking, is the same thing Python? Okay, yeah, good. Okay. So you're answering Omaomi. Yeah, it's the same thing. You can actually use both. As a matter of fact, sometimes you see people use three, right, where they can write hello, right? So you can actually use this one as well. The thing about this one is that it keeps the formatting. So if you want to print this, it's going to print it exactly this way. So we usually use it for documentation. So you can also use the same thing here, print hello, and there you have hello. You can also print this, so they're the same. All right. The only difference is this can be formatted like this, and when you print, it's basically going to appear exactly the way it is. So don't use this for your string operations. Rather use it for documentation, and I will show you how to do that. All right. So that makes sense. Thank you very much for that question, Omaomi and Collins. What about Chukudi? Did I answer your question correctly? Did I answer your question? Which of the Chukudi? Which of the brackets are you referring to? This you're seeing here for the sort, this is basically something you use because it's part of the method. You are calling a method. This is because we're using a list, right? So this is the a type of bracket you use for a list. This is because we're trying to format, we're doing what we call template formatting, right? We're formatting the string so that we can add some extra details to tell us what the string, what this is all about. We are using this because this is going to like kind of uh, uh, um, give us the ability to call or to print a variable, right, inside the list of items that are not variables. All right, so we're mixing a variable alongside regular text. So you have to separate them by making it obvious that this is a variable. If you don't make it obvious, then this is going to be printed as just names without giving us the values here. It's going to be seen as a random text, which is why we always put it inside the braces. All right. The F itself is for formatting. All right. So we're formatting our string. And there are different ways to format a string in Python. When we get to string section, we'll talk about that in details. But this is kind of like the easiest way, to basically format your strings in Python. Right. This is a string. And if we don't put the F here, you see that this is seen as a random text. All right. So let me just show you an example to make it easier for us to understand. So let's look at this. Guys, look at this. We have a value of name, right? Which is going to be my name. So let's say my name is Marv, right? And at this point, I want to say good evening, Marv. If I just say good evening name, as you can see, if I print this, we're simply going to get good evening name, right? It does not recognize this as a variable. Okay, so in order to make this recognized as a variable, I use F first, which would mark that I'm trying to format this string. And then in here, I would use the braces, right? The curly bracket to tell this guy that, oh, I want you to actually locate the value of name in my code, right? Because name has a value somewhere. All right. So if I print this now, you see we have good evening map, right? So if I say map Solomon, you see we have good evening map Solomon. All right. And we have different ways to format a string. I'll teach you the other patterns, that you could use in formatting strings when we get to the topic strings. All right. So, okay. So, yeah, we can actually sort items in a list in ascending or descending order. We also have the operation for slicing. All right, we have the operation for slicing. Although we have spent more than an hour, right? Not in the class specifically, but like throughout, because we spent 20 minutes initially not having this session. So I don't want to take your time, but now I want you guys to decide. So based on the votes we get, do we spend another 20 minutes trying to cover, at least trying to finish list, or you would prefer to continue next time? Please let me know in the chat and let's be fast with that so that we know what to do. Do we spend another 20 minutes trying to finish up with the list? Yeah, with everything we have here on the list section. All right. Okay. So, oh, okay. Okay. Let's see the numbers we get. Let's see. So Rafiato is saying, can we continue next time? Yeah, I mean that should be that should be next week. When I say next time, that should be next week. Okay, so I think we have more votes saying we should continue. All right, for the attendance, that will be shared with you. Amaka is not on this call, but probably someone will join us shortly. All right. Okay, so let's go back and share my screen. All right, so someone is asking a question here. He said, why is delete bracket different from the other commands like remove, append? Yeah, so because when we are deleting, so let's go back to that example. When we are deleting, we're trying to locate an index, right? And when you're locating an index, you basically use this pattern, all right? You use the square bracket when you're locating an index. That is the way it's implemented in Python, all right? So when you're locating an index, this is how you basically do that. And this is a method, all right? A method is, we'll get to that, you will learn how to implement a method. But the idea is you have a general item, like let's say human, right? And then you can basically call different operations like human.walk, human.eat, right? When we get to that, and when you're calling these items, you basically have to call them this way in Python. We'll get to that. That is exactly what you're seeing there. It was built that way. When we get there, you understand it better, all right? So let's just continue so we can finish up what we have under the list section. All right, so the next thing we have under the list section is basically slicing. All right, so we've done ascending and descending. By the way, I will send this to you on Discord, right, as a code file so you can download it. So let's talk about slicing in Python. Okay, so we have this. This is slicing in Python. What exactly do we mean by slicing? So when we say slicing, we are trying to, basically get a specific portion, right, of of an item, like of the list item. So now we have a long list, a list of names, as you can see right here. And when we say we're trying to slice, we're trying to get maybe like from position 0 to position 1, or from position 0 to position 2, just like that. All right. And yeah, so basically we can try something like that here. We're going to slice this item from index 0 to index 2. So I would say 0 to 2. And from here, I would basically say from 1. Yeah, you see, you can also use minus because minus is going to come from here, -1, -2. Let's start by, talking about the first option here first, okay? So we don't get confused. Now we're trying to slice this list. We have Emanuela, Joy, Prince, Melvina, Mesilia, and yeah. So don't mind me. When I was writing this stuff, I simply had to use names of people I knew. Okay, so I'm sure some names are familiar here. So basically, I have the names, and I'm trying to say let's slice from 0 to 2. Now this is 0 through 2, right? And if I go ahead and print this, we're going to get the result of Emanuela, Joy, and Prince because this is 0, 1, 2. Okay, so basically we're going to get the items in between. So you're going to see Emanuela and Joy. You won't get Prince, right? You get the items in between, which is 0 and 1. If we say 0 through 3, then you would get Prince. All right, so you get Emanuela, Joy, and Prince. Okay, so which is 0, 1, 2, 3. So you're going to get this. All right, now from the other example, if we simply say we want to get from Right, what you're seeing here is, first of all, you see that we don't have any item on any number on the left, right? And the reason is because we simply want to slice maybe 1 and 2. So let me show you. So we simply want to say, let's just put it this way. So what you see here right now is we get Emanuela, Joy, and Prince because we said we want to slice away, -1, -2. So these guys go off, and then you have these items left. All right, so these guys are off, and then you have these items left because this is -1 and -2. All right, so you take these guys away, and you basically get the result starting from position 0. All right, so this is similar to saying 0 to 2. Okay, 0 to -2. Okay, so let's go ahead and yeah, let's see what we have here. That is basically how you perform slicing. Next, we have what we call, yeah, we have unpacking. How do you unpack a list, right? So this is slicing. How do you unpack a list? So you have items in a list. You have names, right? So such as these names. So you have the names John, Mark, and Marriott, and you're simply trying to unpack. So in order to unpack, you first want to create like some variables, right? So we want to basically append to say name 1, name 2, and name 3 equals names, which is this names. All right, so because we have 3 values in here, when we say name 1, name 2, name 3, it's automatically going to match, the positions, right? Name 1 is going to be John, name 2 is going to be Mark, and name 3 is going to be Marriott, right? And now that we have said is equals names, it means we are basically just, extracting the positions into, the variable positions as well. All right, so if we go ahead and print name 1, what are we expecting to see? We're expecting to see John. All right, if we print name 2, we're expecting to see Mark. And if we print name 3, we're expecting to see Marriott. All right, so that's exactly what we have right here. Okay, now you can also use the asterisk, sign. So I'm going to show you how you use that. So here is an example of how you use that. So remember that this would print the item uh, at the positional index, right? So when I mean positional index, name 3, which is right here, is going to print the index at this specific position, which is 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2. All right. So when we use the asterisk sign, we're simply trying to say, okay, give us the first one, and the others can be a list of the remaining items. Okay. So what we say John, which will be the first item. This is similar to saying name 1, and we can say other names just to make it, let's make it make sense, okay? So we'll say name 1 and other names can be the remaining names, all right, equals names. So if we print name 1, of course, as expected, we're going to have John, right? You see, we have John. If we print other names, what do we get when we print other names? Let's see what we get. We get Mark and Marriott, which are the other names that were not unpacked. It's just left inside, the list, all right? So that is basically how it works. Okay, all right, so the next thing we have right here would be what we call, it's an operation that we refer to as looping, right? You're looping through a list. But first of all, I just want you to understand what a loop is in the first place before we even dive into saying anything detailed about that. Let's assume you have an item. So basically, this is kind of like a store, right? A store where you can purchase items, and then you have a person. I don't have a stick figure here, but you have a person. So I'm going to call this person 1. That's so weird. So let's expand that first. Let's reduce the size. Let's reduce the size. So you basically have, okay, let's just leave it this way. So you have person 1, and I'm surprised why, okay, better. Okay, so you have person 1, that's quite small, but yeah, this is simply a person, okay? So you're trying to say, okay, I want you, um, I want you to basically, go down to that shop and get me, 10 bags of water. And you know that this person can only grab one bag at a time, okay? So you are asking this person to go get 10 bags of water. Now, what you have created is a sequence of operations, a sequence of similar operations, right? So this person is simply going to walk down to the store. He's going to get the first bag. He's going to return it to this location. So we have location 1, location 2. And this person would continue that operation for how many times? Basically 10 times, right? Because he can only get one item at a time. All right, so you have 10 bags of water sitting right here in the store. And this person is going to have to move down here to and fro, which is going to count as the first count or the first iteration. We call that iteration, right? So the amount of times you move is the number of iteration. This is the first iteration. When it does that again, you basically have the second iteration. When it does that again, you have the third iteration until it gets to that amount of time, amount of bags, right? Which is the bag of water, all right, the bags of water. All right, so that's a very simple illustration, and I hope you understood that. So, that sequential movement, right? It's basically, the process of, you have created a loop, right? You have created a loop, and a loop should at least have a specific time frame to say this loop would happen 10 times, it would happen 5 times, it would happen 20 times. To show you a simple example first, before we talk about looping in lists, here's a simple example. Using what we call the for loop, right? Using the for syntax in Python. If I say for I in 10, so this is simply, I'm going to say range of 10. I'm going to say print I. Now we are going to cover loops in detail, in great detail, in a different section. This is more like an introduction to loop. What is going to happen here is that the I is simply a placeholder, right? It doesn't exist. It can be anything. It can be math, right? It can be A, it can be J, right? I'm only saying that the value I create here is basically what I would use as a reference, to operate, on the items in the range. So we have a range of 10 items. Now this is a default, Python syntax for creating a range of items. So I can have 5, right? If I say for x in range of 5, which means in 5 times, print x, it's simply going to come in here, right? It's going to print x, the value of x, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, just like that. If I run this, you see we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It starts from 0, right? And then it gives us 0. So it performs our operation for the first time, it prints 0, performs our operation again, it prints 1, performs the operation again, it prints 2. That is a loop that we have created. All right, we have created a loop for 5 times. Okay, so this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5. That is the amount of occurrences. All right, the amount of iterations. Right, some people call it iterations. I mean, it doesn't matter, iterations, whatever. But that is the amount of occurrences or the amount of times that this happened, right? And we can also say the 10, you can say 100, you can say 50. You see, it starts from 0 to 9, which is 10 times. All right, what can you do with those numbers? Yeah, I mean, I can simply say, so this happened. I can simply format this and say this happened, and say this times, right? So I'm going to simply say this happened, 0 times, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, just like that. All right, and I can print that out, and now you see we have this happened 0 times, this happened 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, up to 9 times. This is an iteration. We have created a loop, right? So we can also loop through a list. So I can simply have a list of names, and I can say for name in names. Now remember, I said one thing, that the name here, what to put here is a placeholder. I can use X, I can use I can use we, I can use anything, right? It's a placeholder, it's a variable. I prefer to use something that is closely related, kind of like the singular version of the plural option, right? This is plural, I mean, names, we have lots of names, okay? And when I say we have a name in here, I'm trying to say we have, yeah, give me a second. Let's see. Oh, okay, good. So what I'm trying to say here is that we have, a single, from every single item inside all the items. So I'm simply going to say print name. Now what we'll get here is that we're going to print all the names, right, in different lines. So now you see we have John, Mark, Margaret. All right. So because we are basically printing those names, right? So we can say we can simply try to get yeah, we can simply do, we can do a lot with this, right? We are looking through, and we can of course use different forms of loop. What I just showed you now is what we call the for loop. We have what we call the while loop. We have different types of loop, and I would prefer to teach you how to use the loops in a different section, not here. But this is just kind of like an introduction to what looping through a list of items would look like. All right. So you can basically perform different operations in here. All right. You can try to you can decide to print these names, or you can say um, yeah, you can perform even more advanced, operations. But I don't want to go into that because we've not touched like the if statement and other things. So this is a very simple example. You are able to look through a list and print the values. Follow the book. Follow the book in the the Python for Starters .solomonmarvel.com, and just try to go through from page one, page two. When you have questions or there are some things you don't understand, feel free to come into my DM, or I would even prefer you drop it in the yeah, it will be better and faster. If you drop it in your room, I can actually respond at at scale. If you drop it in my DM, I might not be able to get your message on time, right? So if you drop it in the room, that is much faster, and the other moderators can also assist you with that. All right. So don't be scared. Go through the Python book, take it one step at a time, and I believe you will be able to cover up a large portion. That is something you really have to do because our live classes will never be enough to answer every single question or cover every single thing, which is why we actually share resources a lot. This is Python, Runak. This is Python. The attendance. Okay, all right. Give me a second, please. Just give me a second. Let me quickly ask one of the moderators to grab that. All right. So please give me. So the Python for starters, I will drop the link again in the chat right here. All right. Give me a second. I'll be right back. All right, guys, I really apologize for that. So I think someone was meant to, share the attendance in the chat, but it seems like the person did not show up on time. So I just informed Amaka right now via WhatsApp message, and she said she would send it in the next 1 or 2 minutes. All right. So this is, of course, keeping you guys up here. I really apologize for that. But yeah, I mean, we'll definitely try to do better next time. All right, so let me stop sharing my screen for now. Um, if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, but I'll also be on Discord for like 30 minutes after this class. Okay, and remember, once I end this stream, you can get the video directly on YouTube. All right, so right, okay, so someone, I think Ronak is asking a question, said, can you please explain in short what asterisk does? So, okay, so what you're asking is, can I explain what asterisk, okay, does in a for loop? Okay, all right. So that's a good question. In Python specifically, because that is what we're using here. So if you're going to be using the asterisk in a for loop, it's simply a pattern, right? And it's simply a pattern that you can actually use to kind of like I think I would say to kind of like maybe you want to like describe like a sequence of items, right? It's not like there's a specific feature or function that is going to add, right? So maybe you're trying to describe a specific thing. What you're seeing here is not for the for loop, right? What you're seeing here is not for the for loop. So let's not confuse this for the for loop. All right. What you're seeing here is basically we're trying to unpack a list in Python. All right. Let's see the name, Ronak. So what you're seeing here is we're trying to unpack a list in Python. So we have like the name one, which is basically going to point to the first name we have here. And then we have the asterisk and other names, which is going to simply reference the remaining set of the items in the list. Okay. And that will be printed as an extra list. All right. So asterisk we're seeing here is not part of the for loop. That is just a different example. All right, Ronak. Okay, so I just got the, give me a minute. I'm trying to grab the attendance list. So I would have to open up my WhatsApp, but I have to first stop presenting, okay? All right, so just give me a minute to pull up the attendance list. Please, when I drop it, try as much as possible to enter your details real quick so that we don't spend much time again. All right, so 1 minute. Okay, right, so I'm sharing that in the chats. All right, yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome, Ronak. So, yeah, I just shared that in the chat. So, please, for those of us, I noticed we're 18. There was 18 of us here, but now we're just 13. Go ahead and fill the form. Um, it says link not found. Please give me a minute to try it from my end as well. Oh boy. Okay, that's not good. That's not good. Okay. All right, so just give me a minute to quickly pull that up myself. I think the link is totally wrong. All right, so yeah, totally wrong. Right, so I just need your. All right, so I just created something right now. So this is just going to accept your name and of course your email by default, right? So you have your email by default. So I'm going to share this with you. All right, so let's share this right away. I mean, this should not take any time. Why would someone make a silly mistake with the link's name? Okay, so sharing this, with a short link, copy. All right, I really apologize for that. Sorry, allow me. All right, so let's use the new link I just shared with you. Yeah, I tested that right now. So just go ahead, put in your name. It's going to grab your email automatically. And please make sure you use try as much as possible to use the same email, right? So the reason for the attendance is, we like to track, the participation ratio. Usually by the end of our training programs, we usually have some gifts, all right? And, we give out those gifts, and we try to use this as a way to measure that. As well as those gifts are, of course, from organizations, organizations asking us to give out, some resources. And as well as, using that as a metric to give out certification, so that people don't just, come to the program to take certifications without, you know, without passing through this stage of, taking the classes. So just go ahead and fill the form, and that will be all. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.